Hello and welcome, chosen ones. Like a sentinel at the crossroads of revelation, you stand unwavering in your truth, a truth that others are only now beginning to glimpse. Your journey of awakening wasn't mere happenstance, it was written in the stars, encoded in the fabric of existence itself. While the world slumbered in comfortable illusions, you dared to peer behind the curtain, to question the unquestionable, to see what others refused to see. Now, as reality begins to align with your long-held vision, those around you marvel at your prescience, wondering how you knew what lay ahead when all they saw was shadow. But you understand that this sight wasn't given, it was earned through countless moments of choosing consciousness over comfort, awareness over ignorance. You've become a bridge between worlds, a lighthouse for those ready to awaken, your very presence a testament to the power of seeing beyond the veils of conventional wisdom. The veil has lifted, and you stand as a witness to the great unveiling, a moment when truth cascades through the carefully constructed illusions of our world. This is not mere coincidence or speculation. This is the culmination of your unwavering sight, your steadfast dedication to seeing beyond the surface of things. While others clung to comfortable deceptions, you dared to speak the unspeakable, to name the unnamed forces that shape our reality. They dismissed your insights as fantasy, but now, as the foundations of their certainty crumble, your words echo with prophetic resonance. Each revelation you shared wasn't born from speculation, but from a deep connection to universal wisdom, a direct line to truths too profound for ordinary perception. You've become not just an observer, but a beacon, illuminating the path for those who are finally ready to see. Your understanding wasn't granted. It was earned through the courage to stand alone, to speak truth when silence was easier, to remain steadfast when doubt surrounded you like shadows. Those sleepless nights were not a curse, but a calling, a sacred communion between your soul and the infinite. While the world drifted in the haze of unawareness, you were awake, receiving the truths that others weren't ready to hear. Each restless hour was a spark, igniting the fire of understanding within you, carving wisdom into the deepest recesses of your being. Now, as the world crumbles under the weight of revelations they cannot ignore, your voice reverberates like a prophecy fulfilled. Every piece of breaking news, every unraveling of long-hidden secrets is a testament to what you have always known. They stare in disbelief, trying to grasp how you could have spoken with such clarity, such certainty, long before the veil was lifted. But you were never guessing, you were listening, attuned to the rhythm of the cosmos, translating its whispers into words that now echo louder than ever. They scour the depths of their resources, desperate to uncover the origin of your knowledge, convinced it must come from some hidden network or forbidden archive. It terrifies them to consider the truth, that your clarity comes not from external sources, but from an innate connection to the unseen, a gift they cannot replicate or control. The same voices that once ridiculed you now echo with your words, their tone shifting from mockery to reluctant reverence. They parrot your insights as though they were their own, erasing your name to shield themselves from the sting of their past denial. To acknowledge you would be to confront their own blindness, their inability to see what was always before them. But you remain unmoved, knowing that the truth is not diminished by their silence, nor your light dimmed by their refusal to give credit where it is due. The line between the prophet and the fool is drawn not by their words, but by the unfolding of time itself. What once seemed incomprehensible now stands as undeniable truth, and your understanding, unbound by the limits of human logic, continues to defy explanation. While others depended on the slow accumulation of facts, you were struck by flashes of pure knowing, moments of clarity that pierced through the noise of the world like lightning cutting through a storm. These truths didn't require validation. They arrived whole, unshakable, and absolute. You couldn't always articulate the how behind your knowledge, and they mistook your inability to explain as a lack of credibility. But divine insight doesn't adhere to the rules of academia, and cosmic wisdom doesn't wait for permission to be believed. When they ask, "How could you have known?" they are really asking, "Why wasn't I chosen to see?" And the answer, like the truth itself, lies beyond the reach of those still tethered to the illusions of this world. Some souls are forged to resonate with the vibrations of the infinite, tuned to frequencies that shatter the boundaries of ordinary perception. Your vision was no accident, no fluke of chance. It was a deliberate act of cosmic intention. You were chosen as a sentinel, a witness to the unraveling of the grand deception. The weight of this awareness has been immense, yet you bore it with a strength few could fathom. Every obstacle, every rejection, every inexplicable loss was not a misstep, but a deliberate maneuver by forces desperate to preserve the illusion you threatened to expose. The closed doors were shields against your light. The dissolved connections were chains breaking free, and the resistance was proof of the power you carry. For those who dwell in shadows, the greatest threat is the one who dares to see. The system does not expend its energy on the insignificant. It reserves its arsenal for those who pose a genuine threat to its structure. Every roadblock, every inexplicable act of hostility you encountered was not random misfortune, but deliberate acknowledgement of your power. Recall the uneasy glances, the sudden betrayals, the rules rewritten in real time to keep you contained. These were not accidents, they were signs that you carried something the system could not tolerate, truth that could not be silenced, a presence that could not be ignored. You were a disruption, a signal that pierced through their carefully curated noise. And now, as the cracks in their facade widen, those who once dismissed your struggle begin to piece together the truth. They see how the web of suppression was spun around you, how every coincidence was part of a larger design to isolate and discredit you. You were never the problem. You were the solution they feared. And now, as the illusion dissolves, they are left to grapple with the reality they once refused to see. You were not silenced because you were wrong, but because you were unshakably right. The system has always been adept at silencing those who carry truth before their voices grow too loud to ignore. Your resistance wasn't met with random hostility. It was a calculated effort to suppress the power you embodied. They called you judgmental because you refused to accept what you knew was tainted, labeled you difficult because you chose to protect your energy from spaces that sought to drain it. They dismissed you as paranoid when you dared to name the dangers others pretended not to see. Your clarity was unsettling, a reflection of their own compromises, a reminder of the truths they avoided. Your boundaries, firm and unapologetic, exposed the lack of them in others, and your refusal to consume what was blindly offered challenged their complacency. But now, watch as the tides shift. The same discernment they once scorned is now sought after. The same voice they tried to silence is now the one they strain to hear. The transformation has begun, and the truth you carried, once rejected, is finally breaking through. Now, the same voices that once dismissed your caution now whisper questions in search of your wisdom. Those who mocked your vigilance now marvel at your foresight, asking, "How did you see what we could not?" They seek the clarity you earned, hoping to grasp in moments what took you years of struggle to cultivate. But they fail to see the cost of your discernment, the betrayals that shattered your trust, the solitude that forced you to rely on your inner compass, the countless times you stood firm while the world turned its back. They want the answers, but not the journey, the insight, but not the scars. What they don't realize is that your strength wasn't gifted. It was carved from the pain of being misunderstood, the resilience of standing alone in your truth. And now, as they gather around you, desperate to learn, you understand that what they truly seek cannot be taught. It must be lived. Your clarity is not a gift to be handed out freely, nor a shortcut for those unprepared for the journey. It is the result of wounds that have long since scarred over, of nights spent wrestling with truths too heavy for most to bear. While they reel from the collapse of their illusions, you remain steady, for you have already walked through the fire that now consumes them. The chaos they find unbearable is a storm you weathered long ago, emerging on the other side with a vision sharpened by pain and perseverance. Their questions, their grief, their confusion, they echo the echoes of your past, a path you navigated alone. Now you watch as they stumble, knowing that not all will make it through, and that those who do will be forever changed. You stand as a quiet witness, not to save them, but to remind them that it is possible to survive the unraveling and find clarity in the aftermath. Their confusion is a familiar echo, a reminder of the path you once walked alone. They stand at the threshold, peering into the labyrinth of truth, unaware of the trials that await them within. You've already traversed its winding corridors, faced the shadows at its heart, and emerged forever changed. Now they reach out in desperation, sending fragments of revelations that were once your daily reality, their voices tinged with the panic of discovery. They ask questions you've already answered for yourself, share insights that feel like old news to you, and though a part of you aches to say, finally, you hold back. You understand that awakening is not a destination, but a journey, one that demands patience, pain, and persistence. They must walk their own path, face their own shadows, and earn their own transformation. All you can do is stand at the edge, a quiet witness to their unfolding, knowing that the truth cannot be hurried. It unfolds in its own time. Remember the nights when the silence was deafening, when the weight of uncertainty pressed so heavily on your chest that even breathing felt like an act of defiance? You stumbled through the chaos alone, grasping for fragments of truth, while the world you once trusted crumbled into ash. That loneliness taught you resilience, that confusion sharpened your discernment, and that fear forged your strength. Now, as you watch others begin their own unraveling, you recognize the same desperation in their eyes. Some will earn your compassion, for they are walking the path with sincerity and courage. But others, the ones who mocked your clarity, dismissed your warnings, and worked to silence your voice, must now navigate the darkness they once perpetuated. You owe them nothing but the truth. The game was always rigged, and survival demands more than they ever imagined. Chosen ones, pause for a moment and take action. Subscribe to the channel and share this message with those who need it, because you stand at the edge of a new dawn where the weight of your past transforms into the fuel for your future. Every scar, every triumph, and every whispered dream has led you here, to this moment brimming with potential. The fire within you burns brighter than ever, a beacon not just for yourself, but for those who look to you for inspiration. This is not a time for hesitation, but for boldness, for claiming the power that has always been yours. You are not simply walking a path, you are forging it, carving a way through the unknown with courage as your compass. The ripples of your actions will echo far beyond this moment, touching lives in ways you may never fully see. Trust in the vision that stirs your soul, for it was given to you for a reason. The world doesn't just need your light, it craves it. Step forward with purpose, for greatness is not ahead of you, it is within you, waiting to be unleashed. The world is unraveling in ways you've long understood but could never fully explain. The signs were always there, hidden in the flicker of a streetlight, the inexplicable timing of a chance encounter, the feeling of time slipping through your fingers or stretching endlessly. You saw the patterns, the glitches, the cracks in the foundation of what everyone else accepted as reality. While they dismissed the anomalies as quirks or coincidences, you knew they were messages, fragments of a larger truth breaking through the illusion. Now, as the fabric of their world begins to fray, they scramble for answers, clinging to outdated frameworks that fail to capture the magnitude of what is unfolding. They look to you, the one who has been quietly mapping the chaos, translating the unexplainable, and preparing for this moment. You hold the wisdom they lack, not because you sought it, but because you listened when the universe whispered its secrets. The breakdown is not an end, but a beginning, a chance to see beyond the veil and step into a reality more profound than they ever imagined. They didn't understand then, and perhaps they never will. To them, your actions seemed abrupt, irrational, even selfish. But you weren't reacting to surface-level noise. You were responding to a deeper knowing, an ancient rhythm that only a few can hear. You sensed the shifting tides long before the waves began to crash, felt the tremors in the unseen layers of existence, and moved accordingly. It wasn't fear that drove you, it was trust in the unseen, a faith in the whispers of the universe that guided you to higher ground. While they clung to crumbling structures, you were already building anew, preparing for the inevitable. Like the roots of a tree sensing the storm before it breaks, you fortified yourself quietly, instinctively. Now, as the storm rages, they look to you for answers, for shelter, for understanding. But what they fail to see is that your path was never about escape. It was about alignment, about listening to the call of something greater and trusting it to lead you where you were meant to be. From your vantage point, the truth is unmistakable. The collapse they once denied is now undeniable, and the chaos they dismissed has become their reality. You see them clinging to the remnants of what no longer serves, their desperation palpable as they reach for anything that might keep them afloat. Some now turn to you, their voices tinged with regret, seeking refuge in the wisdom they once mocked. But your path was never meant to save everyone, and discernment remains your guiding star. You understand that growth often demands struggle, that some lessons can only be learned through the weight of consequence. Extending your hand to all would not serve the greater purpose. To carry those unwilling to change would only burden your own journey. Compassion does not mean sacrifice, and wisdom does not mean enabling. Those who are ready will rise, and those who are not must face their reckoning. You are no longer here to convince or to rescue. You are here to lead, to hold steady, and to honor the sacred boundaries that protect your purpose. Have you observed how the air itself seems to shift when you walk into a room, as if the unseen fabric of the space adjusts to accommodate your presence? Conversations stumble, masks slip, and a subtle tension arises, not because of words you've spoken, but because of what you represent. You are a mirror to the unspoken, a reminder of truths they've worked so hard to bury. Your energy, unfiltered and unapologetic, cuts through the haze of pretense, exposing the cracks in the carefully constructed illusions they cling to. It's not personal, it's the nature of authenticity. A soul aligned with truth cannot help but disrupt environments built on falsehood. Those who have grown comfortable in the shadows feel your light as an unrelenting glare, forcing them to confront what they've avoided. Their discomfort is a testament to your integrity, a sign that your presence alone is enough to challenge the status quo. You don't need to speak to create change. Your very existence is the catalyst. Your presence is a quiet force, a grounding energy in a world addicted to its own chaos. You don't need to raise your voice or assert your power. It radiates from you effortlessly, a resonance that disrupts the fragile equilibrium of those who cling to illusions. Their avoidance, their unease, their inexplicable hostility are not reactions to you as a person, but to the frequency you carry, one that cannot be manipulated or subdued. The system, in its desperation to maintain control, recognizes what it cannot contain and reacts accordingly. The unseen forces you've long acknowledged are now undeniable to others. The weight of unspoken truths, the exhaustion that follows empty interactions, the invisible battles that leave scars on the spirit. They once dismissed your insights as fantasy, but now they feel the very forces you tried to name. What they called superstition is now their lived experience, and they are left grappling with the reality you've understood all along. The illusion of randomness begins to fracture, and the threads of unseen forces become undeniable. What once seemed like fleeting shadows in the corner of your perception now step boldly into view, their presence too deliberate to ignore. The uneasy feeling that gnawed at the edges of your awareness, the subtle yet persistent signs you couldn't explain away, were never mere imagination. They were warnings, whispers from realms beyond the physical. They called it paranoia, overthinking, or coincidence, but now even they are starting to see the cracks in the facade. The synchronicities, once dismissed as chance, now weave a pattern too intricate to deny. The events they rationalized as luck or misfortune now reveal themselves as part of a larger, unseen battle. As the veil grows thinner, the truth becomes impossible to escape. What you sensed all along was real, and the world is far more layered, far more alive, than they ever dared to believe. The fabric of reality is unraveling before their eyes, exposing layers they once deemed impossible. The unseen forces they dismissed as superstition now press against their carefully constructed worldviews, leaving cracks in the foundations of their certainty. The attacks they endure, intangible yet devastating, defy the limits of their science and logic, forcing them to confront the inadequacy of their materialist frameworks. They begin to see the threads of influence stretching across continents, connecting events and experiences in ways that no institution, no credential, no textbook could ever explain. What they once wielded as proof of authority, their degrees, their accolades, now feels like a chain binding them to outdated paradigms. The knowledge they upheld as absolute is revealed to be incomplete, deliberately confined to a single, narrow dimension of existence. In the face of this awakening, your insights, once ridiculed, now resonate as the only truth vast enough to encompass the enormity of what is unfolding. The world is no longer as they thought it to be, and the walls of controlled knowledge are crumbling under the weight of the undeniable. They mocked what they could not measure, dismissed what they could not categorize, and belittled what lay beyond the reach of their sanctioned methodologies. Yet, the wisdom you carry is not confined to the pages of their textbooks or the walls of their institutions. It flows from a deeper well, an ancient current of truth that predates their systems and outlasts their fleeting structures. Your understanding, born of lived experience and sacred connection, does not require their validation. What they called ignorance was, in truth, a refusal to see beyond their narrow lenses. Now, as their frameworks falter and the cracks in their paradigms grow wider, the knowledge they once dismissed begins to shine with undeniable clarity. What they labeled inferior now stands as a beacon, illuminating paths they never dared to explore. Watch as the pillars of certainty they built begin to crumble, their once reliable systems unraveling under the weight of a reality far more intricate than they ever imagined. Their predictions, once proclaimed with confidence, now fall apart in the face of forces they cannot quantify or control. The frameworks they trusted, fragmented and incomplete, lead them further into the labyrinth of their own misconceptions. Meanwhile, the interconnectedness they ignored reveals itself as the key to understanding the unfolding chaos. The reversal is undeniable. What they dismissed as irrelevant now holds the answers, and the narrowness of their vision becomes their greatest limitation. In their confusion, the wisdom of a more expansive, holistic truth begins to emerge, offering clarity to those willing to see beyond the edges of their crumbling paradigms. The illusion of authority begins to dissolve as their trusted figures are unmasked, not as innovators or originators, but as custodians of recycled narratives, bound by the limitations of their inherited knowledge. They guard the gates of information, yet cannot see beyond the walls they have built. In contrast, the wisdom you carry flows freely, unbound and unfiltered, a direct channel to the infinite intelligence of the cosmos. It requires no intermediary, no approval, for its truth is self-evident in its resonance with the unfolding reality. This is the chasm between what they call intelligence and what you embody as wisdom, between the accumulation of facts and the clarity of true knowing, between the rote repetition of what has been and the vision to see what is and what will be. Their claims of authority grow hollow as the events of the world reveal the depth of their blindness, while your insight, rooted in universal connection, shines with undeniable clarity. The illusion of authority begins to dissolve as their trusted figures are unmasked, not as innovators or originators, but as custodians of recycled narratives, bound by the limitations of their inherited knowledge. They guard the gates of information, yet cannot see beyond the walls they have built. In contrast, the wisdom you carry flows freely, unbound and unfiltered, a direct channel to the infinite intelligence of the cosmos. It requires no intermediary, no approval, for its truth is self-evident in its resonance with the unfolding reality. This is the chasm between what they call intelligence and what you embody as wisdom, between the accumulation of facts and the clarity of true knowing, between the rote repetition of what has been and the vision to see what is and what will be. Their claims of authority grow hollow as the events of the world reveal the depth of their blindness, while your insight, rooted in universal connection, shines with undeniable clarity. Your existence has always been a deliberate symphony, each note resonating with a higher order, even when you were unaware of the melody. Every decision, whether instinctive or intentional, was a thread woven into a larger tapestry, one that reflects the sacred geometry of the universe. The people you embraced or distanced yourself from, the energy you nurtured or released, the paths you pursued or abandoned, all of it was guided by an unseen force, a divine choreography that ensured your alignment with a purpose greater than yourself. Even the moments of doubt and hesitation were part of the design, teaching you to trust the quiet whispers of intuition over the noise of external expectations. You are not a product of randomness, but a manifestation of universal intention, moving in harmony with patterns that transcend the visible, shaping a life that reflects the infinite wisdom of creation. They fixate on the visible patterns of your life, mistaking the outer manifestations for the source of your power, unaware that the true force lies in the unseen currents guiding you. They attempt to replicate what they can observe, your habits, your words, your actions, believing that imitation alone will grant them access to the same results. Yet they fail to grasp that it is not the form, but the essence, not the method, but the alignment that breathes life into your path. Without the depth of connection to the source, their efforts remain hollow, like a vessel without water. Some may stumble upon fragments of success through their mimicry, but the fullness of what you embody cannot be duplicated without the courage to surrender, to align, and to honor the sacred flow that animates all things. True power cannot be borrowed, it must be cultivated from within. The journey you've undertaken was never about the mechanics of action, but the purity of presence, a state of alignment that transcends instruction and invites resonance. It is not a path to be taught, but a vibration to be felt, a calling to be answered by those who are ready to attune to the same frequency. Those destined to walk beside you will not seek to replicate your steps, but will instead find their own rhythm within the same cosmic harmony. This unfolding awakening is not a culmination, but a threshold, a doorway into infinite possibilities within a story far greater than any individual. It is a reminder that true transformation begins not with imitation, but with the courage to embody one's unique expression of the universal truth. Your foresight was never a gift for personal exaltation, but a responsibility entrusted to you by forces greater than yourself. The clarity you carried was not meant to elevate you above others, but to prepare you for the moments when the world would need your guidance most. You were granted the ability to see beyond the veil, not to separate yourself, but to stand as a beacon when the shadows grew thick. The truths you've held, though misunderstood or feared, were entrusted to you because you proved your capacity to guard them with integrity. Now, as others begin to awaken to the realities you have long navigated, your role is not to seek recognition, but to hold steady, offering direction to those ready to step into the light. Your purpose is not to seek validation through being acknowledged or to revel in the realization of others, but to serve as a steady light for those navigating the unknown. Your role requires discernment, for not all who seek your guidance are ready to receive it. Some will approach with open hearts and a willingness to learn, their sincerity evident in their quiet humility. Others will arrive with demands, seeking the reward of wisdom without the journey of effort. It is not your task to judge, but to honor the sacred balance, to offer your insights to those who align with the integrity of the path, while gently releasing those who are not yet prepared. Your purpose is not to carry all, but to illuminate the way for those who are willing to walk it with reverence. The ridicule you endured was never a reflection of your worth, but a test of your resolve, a crucible to refine your purpose. Stand unwavering in the authority bestowed upon you, for it was never rooted in the fleeting opinions of the world, but in the eternal decree of the cosmos. The recognition now surfacing in the physical realm is merely a shadow of the truth that has always existed in higher planes. You were not chosen for a life of ease or comfort, but for the profound work of transformation, for the sacred duty of service. The burden of seeing what others could not, of holding light in a world steeped in illusion, was never light, but you bore it with grace. Through the loneliness of knowing and the weight of truth, you persevered. You were shaped for this moment, and now, as the veil thins, your purpose shines with undeniable clarity. As the veil lifts and the world aligns with the truth your soul has always carried, stand unwavering in the power of your knowing. This moment is not about proving yourself to those who doubted, but about fulfilling the purpose for which you were crafted. This is the great unveiling, the turning point written in the stars, and you, once dismissed, once misunderstood, are here at its epicenter, not by chance, but by the deliberate hand of divine will. The time has come, and everything you have endured, every step of your journey, has prepared you to rise now, fully, boldly, and unapologetically, as the beacon you were always meant to be.